Japan, China, Hong Kong, South Korea. These are the 4 big nations dominating conversations about Asian cinema. Whatever you might think of the Demon Slayer theatrical releases and Squid Game, it's great to see films and properties that might not have ever been seen outside of their home countries get widespread foreign recognition. The fact that Drive My Car was a major hit here is huge. But while the cultural zeitgeist might have accepted into its loving arms IPs from the Big 4, there are plenty of other great films from smaller and still less represented countries that have yet to make their big splash in the Western world. This is Spotlight On, a series where I talk about some choice movies from, for now, less popular countries. This week, we're looking at Modern Vietnam. With a cinematic history dating back longer than its own independence, Vietnam has developed its own unique storytelling style, one that not only looks back at centuries of Chinese, Japanese, French and American imperialism, but looks forward to a brighter future. From its early days of current events documentaries to modern internationally acclaimed films like The Scent of Green Papaya, Vietnam has plenty of interesting, unique and entertaining films that need to be seen. Here then are 5 lesser known films from Vietnam that you should be watching right now. And if you're wondering where to find these films or anything like them, give your favourite streaming services a try. There's plenty of great content hidden away, waiting for you to find it. Anyway, on with the list. Money turns good people bad. The theme is universal, found in countless stories, and is almost a cliché in films about the acquisition of wealth. Just watch Wall Street or The Wolf of Wall Street, or, I assume, movies that don't have Wall Street in the title. Other times, the story is possibly trying to teach us that money isn't everything, and that the friends and family we have are worth more. My point is that when films are about people coming into money, it's probably trying to say something, and sometimes it's trying to say all of those things. Dustin Nguyen's 2015 comedy Jackpot is that kind of movie. The plot is actually more 3 separate stories happening at the same time. The first is about a young lottery ticket seller, who's so gosh darn nice but struggles to make ends meet for her and her daughter. The second story features a politician who, after being wrongfully arrested for fraud, is attempting to pick his life back up. He does this by making the staggeringly bad choice to gamble and lucks his way into about £300,000. Lastly, there's a plot featuring a married couple who spend way too much money on those lottery tickets and the strain it sometimes puts on their relationship. Jackpot is the sort of charming movie that's quite hard to say anything about. It's a collection of vignettes more than one actual long film. The broken narrative allows for the action to spread itself out a bit, which is necessary in a film that is loaded with personality but not so much on rich storytelling. The vignettes are sweet, short, and don't try too hard to hammer in a message. It acknowledges that money changes people, usually for the worse, and moves on, showing us instead the lives of the people that the lottery is affecting. Some films glorify gambling, others demonize it. Jackpot is content not taking itself too seriously and just having a good time with its premise. It does touch upon all of the messages I brought up earlier, just not that much. That's not really its style. It's the sort of film you put on and have such a good, chill time that you barely notice how long it's been by the time the credits roll. As a cheerful comedy loaded with charismatic performances and sitcom-style scenarios, Jackpot is a movie as modest and rich in personality as its characters. During the 1980s and the 1990s, Hollywood had something of a love for showing big, beefy, nigh incomprehensible dudes pick up the biggest gun they could and go on a murderous rampage. Think Rambo, or any Schwarzenegger vehicle that didn't involve him dressing as an action figure. That genre swiftly died, but one-man army films have made something of a comeback, with more of a focus on mixed martial arts over gunfights. Ong Bak and the Raid started the charge and was followed in the West by the now classic Old Man Learns Martial Arts films that started with Taken and was perfected by John Wick. It's from these movies that the hyper-violent Vietnamese action revenge film Fury takes a lot of its inspiration. The film centers on a young mother, a former gangster from Ho Chi Minh City, who leaves her old life behind to raise her daughter in the countryside. Her job as a debt collector doesn't make her the most popular, however, and her daughter is bullied, leading to an argument between them. It's then that the daughter is kidnapped by child traffickers, and Hai, her mother, begins a bloody quest of vengeance to rescue her, leaving behind a long trail of bodies. Fury is a film where the story takes a bit of a backseat to the bone-crunching violence. I've seen my fair share of John Wick-alikes, and you know there are too many when Mr. Show gets his own one. So I know a little something of the genre, and plot is never really the main selling point. It's a martial arts revenge thriller, there are a million ways to kick things off. What's key isn't the broad strokes of the story, but the details, the location, and the action. And in a lot of ways, Fury manages to stand out as its own thing, giving us a main character who isn't ex-special forces or a trained assassin, but just a furious mother hen doing whatever it takes to save her child. Veronica Van is the absolute shining star here, able to sell her character's dual sides, showcasing times where she is defeated, doubtful and distressed, vital human emotions that keep her relatable throughout. All the while, she's also out there kicking people in the neck and threatening them with farming implements. The martial arts scene here is the relatively recent Vovinam for those keeping score at home, though I admit to being a bit of a Philistine when it comes to this. All I know is that it looks kick-ass, and combined with the gorgeous Vietnamese setting, the movie is beautiful and visually appealing all the damn time. It's slick, violent, and an all-round good time, proving that hell really has no fury like a woman scorned. Moving our action from the gritty and brutal to the silly is the 2015 action buddy comedy Face Off. A different Face Off. It's the first of a curious series of films, as none of them have anything to do with one another, their main connective tissue being director and occasional star Lai Hai. Don't worry if you can't watch any of them in order though, because they're entirely separate stories in totally different genres. In this first installment, Lai plays a diamond miner falsely accused of murdering his friend and stealing diamonds from mobsters running the mine. Chased by both his employers and the police, he flees on the back of a motorcycle taxi run by the lovable dummy Toan, played by Turong Yang. As an example of the mistaken identity run from the crooks kind of movie, Face Off does a pretty good job showcasing Vietnam's deft hand at doing its own kind of dynamic. While in Hollywood and Britain there's more of a divide between our straight men and comedic sidekick, in Face Off the differences are certainly there, but they're less cartoonish. The main character has a little bit more happening than just being a stick-in-the-mud, dead serious foil for Toan, and Toan himself could have easily fallen into the insufferable sidekick trap, but actually has a lot going on in his character, from his failing relationship to the ethical decisions he makes as the story goes on. As for the side characters though, they aren't as nuanced, and the villains are just that, villains. They make decent forces for our heroes to fight against, but aren't really characters on their own. Still, this makes for some fun, entertaining action buddy silliness. And in a world where buddy movies are fewer and far between, I'll take a good dynamic over a strong villain any day. However, what makes Face Off so interesting is that franchise that it somehow created. The Face Off movies, despite having nothing to do with each other, are 8 strong, each of them supposedly looking at different areas of Vietnamese values. The first one, obviously, examining the value of not stealing diamonds and murdering your friends. All of that notwithstanding, by itself it's a pretty fun time that had me laughing out loud on more than a couple of occasions. Lai Hai's keen eye for comedy by and large outweighs his stony inability to act. I've yet to see any other films in the franchise, but I am fascinated to see where it goes and how they manage to pivot from a fugitive action comedy to a drama about a boy who clashes with his father about his dream to become a dancer. Honestly, I might do a video looking at all 8 of them. Detective D and the Mystery of the Phantom Flame was Choi Hark's now iconic period mystery film set during the Tang Dynasty. It told the story of the titular detective solving a series of mysterious spontaneous combustions which may or may not have involved magic. Detective K was an unrelated Korean period mystery film with a pretty similar gaunt mustachioed detective solving pseudo-supernatural crimes. Both franchises are successfully independent of one another despite their obvious glaring similarities. Not to be outdone, Vietnam created its own completely unique yet somewhat identical character, not called Detective V despite all evidence suggesting he should. Detective Kien is his name, and in the movie, he responds to a young woman's letter asking him to help find her daughter. Her village has been recently terrorized by a string of murders, drowned corpses found without heads that have washed up on the shore. The villagers believe this to be the work of a river monster, but Detective Kien is unsure. His investigation introduces a great cast of supporting characters, from a friendly Ceramus to the village chief's daughter, as he works to untangle the deadly mystery. Of all the franchises that I mentioned above, Detective Kien is a strong example of this sort of film, carefully balancing multiple genres at the same time. It is part period drama, supernatural horror, and murder mystery, leaning on whichever it needs at the time to make the story work. The mystery itself is a decent, well-crafted puzzle that unfolds nicely, building tension without resorting to cheap twists, allowing the watcher to solve along with the detective. Kwok Hoi does a lot to distinct his detective from other, legally distinct period dicks like him by giving us a rougher edge and a worse attitude at first, softening him up as the story goes on. It's not afraid to go gory with its visuals and ramps up the horror aspect considerably. No one who's ever seen a movie before will think for a second that the threats are supernatural in any way, but the film does a good job of making us doubt that assumption more than once. Ultimately, Detective Kien is a movie that wants to tell a strong story set in a period of Vietnamese history that we don't often see. And in all those respects, it does a pretty great job, wrapping its many plot threads up pretty nicely, all the while throwing some strong action, horrible monsters, and even sequel baiting along the way. It's no mystery then, but I'm recommending this film. People lose touch. It's a quiet, inevitable tragedy of growing up. We make naive promises in our youth to stay together forever and to never change, but life rarely respects those vows. This is a popular theme for films and one that is strongly present in the 2018 musical comedy Go-Go Sisters. The story follows Hu Fong, who in the year 2000 is a content and wealthy housewife. Things change for her when she reconnects with Dung, the leader of the Wild Horses, her old high school clique. She discovers that Dung is terminally sick and decides to reunite the old gang before it's too late. A remake of the Korean hit Sunny, this film is more than just that. It's a vibrant, neon-tinted delve into a lost era of Vietnamese history, and the movie infuses its story with a strong Vietnamese identity. Bouncing between the 1970s in a politically tumultuous Da Lat and the early 2000s, Go-Go Sisters is a movie that points out the changes we go through in life by differentiating so strongly its different visual identities for each time period. Go-Go Sisters' biggest strength is just how it refuses to be anything other than what it is. The film is heartfelt and low-key celebration of friendship and the bonds that carry us through the decades. While the meat of the story is arguably in the modern-day sequences, the heart of it all is in the 70s, and they're the scenes most people will remember when looking back. Saturated in the distinct palette of the decade, the screen is awash in period-appropriate denim blues, browns and oranges. It's a politically and socially wild world filled with dance numbers and street brawls. The movie will speak more to people of a certain age and geography, but its themes are going to touch anyone who's ever made a promise to a friend only to forget to respond to their Christmas card until April. The cast is immensely charming, the visuals are gorgeous, and most importantly, the music is nothing but bangers. I was grooving to these songs for days after watching it. Go-Go Sisters is feel-good from beginning to end, and it's a version of a story that could only have been told from this specific point of view. It's equal parts specific to its time and place, while capitalizing on universal experiences, and, I cannot stress this enough, punctuates it all with a killer soundtrack. And that's the video. If there are other Vietnamese films you want me to talk about, or if I should go into any of these in more detail, please let me know in the comments below. Or, if you want to suggest another country for the next spotlight on, also let me know. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.